You know that feeling, right? It's late at night, you're staring into the fridge, you know you probably shouldn't, but that slice of chocolate cake is just calling your name. Yeah, we have all been there. Today, we're going to dive deep into the science behind that powerful, almost undeniable pull of sugar. I mean, come on, just thinking about it can make your mouth water, can't it? The smell, the texture. It's this whole sensory experience. But what's actually going on inside our brains that makes these foods feel so intensely, so irresistibly good?
Well, it's this whole cascade of pleasure and craving, a biological chain reaction that kicks off in one very specific, very small place, your tongue.
Okay, so first things first, let's be clear about what we mean when we say sugar. It's not just the white stuff in the sugar bowl. Nope. It's a whole family of molecules called carbohydrates, and they show up in a ton of different forms. And they're kind of sneaky, hiding in places you might not expect, like tomato sauce, yogurts, and even those supposedly healthy granola bars.
So, how does that first taste light the fuse? It's pretty wild, actually. The moment sugar hits your tongue, it activates these sweet taste receptors. This fires off an electrical signal that just zooms to your brainstem. From there, it splits and branches out to different parts of your forebrain. One path zips over to the cerebral cortex, which is the part of your brain that consciously goes, "Hey, that's sweet." But just identifying the taste, that's only the beginning. That very same signal also plugs directly into a much more powerful, more ancient part of our brain, the reward circuit. And this is the true control center of our desires. This is the part that really drives our behavior.
This whole incredibly complex system is basically designed to answer one simple, subconscious question. Should I do that again? And when you take a bite of that cake, your brain's reward system isn't just saying yes, it's screaming it. The chemical that makes it all happen is dopamine. You can think of it as the main currency, the cash of your reward system. When dopamine gets released, it creates a feeling of pleasure. And, crucially, it motivates you to repeat whatever behavior caused that release in the first place. And this reward system isn't just about food. Not at all. It's fundamental to our survival. It gets activated by all sorts of things that are good for us, like positive social interactions and sexual behavior. But, and this is a big but, it can also be hijacked by drugs, which send those dopamine levels through the roof. Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. Sugar has a very special effect on this system, which is why it's so much easier to get excited about a brownie than, say, a piece of broccoli. And this is the crucial difference. With a healthy, balanced meal, you get a nice dopamine spike, sure. But if you eat it every single day, that response starts to fade. Your brain adapts, it gets used to it. With high sugar foods, though, that dopamine hit can stay just as strong time after time after time. This all comes from our evolutionary past. Our brains are literally wired to pay special attention to high-energy foods because, for most of human history, calories were scarce and hard to come by. The problem is, our ancient brains are now living in a modern world where high-sugar, high-calorie foods aren't just available, they're everywhere, and they're engineered to be as rewarding as possible. So by keeping that dopamine response sky high, sugar essentially hijacks our brain's reward system. It's constantly screaming, "Do that again," with the exact same intensity. And in that way, by short-circuiting the brain's natural feedback loops, sugar behaves a little bit like a drug. But the brain is only half the story. Seriously, the journey of that sugary treat continues down to your gut, which, it turns out, has a direct and surprisingly powerful hotline straight to your brain. Yeah, that's right. Your gut has its own sugar receptors. They aren't for tasting, but they send critical signals back up to the brain. They influence feelings of fullness, absolutely, but they also reinforce the reward signals from the tongue. They're basically telling the brain, hey, real calories have arrived. This is a good thing. And they trigger the release of hormones like insulin to manage all the energy you've just consumed. So when you put it all together, the tongue, the brain's reward circuit, the gut, and you repeatedly flood this system with sugar, you can set off a really powerful chain reaction. I like to call it the dominoes of desire. This cycle can lead to three big things. First, a loss of control, where it's really hard to stop at just one. Second, intense cravings, where you're thinking about sugar even when you're not hungry. And third, tolerance, which means you might need more and more sugar just to get that same rewarding feeling. And remember, this domino effect isn't picky. Any of those types of sugar we saw earlier can kickstart it, sparking that powerful, deeply ingrained, rewarding feeling in your brain.
So, what does all this mean for your next slice of cake? Well, it means the craving you feel isn't just a lack of willpower. It's a complex and powerful biological dance between your tongue, your ancient brain, dopamine, and even your gut. Understanding this process doesn't mean you can never enjoy dessert again. It just gives you a powerful new perspective on why that slice can be so incredibly hard to resist.